All right, so there's your boy Len-Dor here back here again with a beautiful selection today, man. I got my boy Bofaat and I got my boy Elijah, man. I mean, these two dudes, we work closely together. We have a dope product that we're dropping, a dope project that I've worked with closely with these guys. One, of course, Bofaat being the genius on the beats, and my boy Elijah is also a rapper and he's also a engineer as well who helped enhance my sound. So I'm going to start off. I say, guys, well, introduce yourselves, man. Introduce yourselves.
So who go first?
Oh, you
Well,
both.
you could go first. You could go first, Bofaat.
Go,
You know
go.
what I mean?
What's up, y'all? This is Bofaat. My name is Bofaat. That's my producer name, artist name, and yeah, I'm coming from Germany, Hanover, Germany, is to be exactly north side of Germany. And yeah, man, I've been into hip hop since the late '80s,
Damn.
and I've been rapping through the '90s, all through the '90s till early 2000s. Stopped, and then got into producing. And yeah.
And what about you, Elijah?
I just love all forms of music, and it just led into hip hop. And I'm also a practicing martial artist as well. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, okay. So what projects, Bofaat, have you worked on? I know you have a countless amount of projects. What's going on? Tell me what you got.
What project?
Yeah.
Oh man. Don't wonder that I'm looking up, because I'm looking at the records hanging on the wall. So that's just a selection. Actually, those are the ones the projects that were released on vinyl, right?
Right.
So I think it would be enough just to mention them, because otherwise it will take 10 minutes, because I got so many projects. And
name the top five. Name the top five.
Okay, top five. So in no particular order, definitely Kenneth Masters, A Life Less Ordinary, the two G-Fam Black albums, the Thrust OG album, and the Deadly Duo album, and obviously the Tayamo Denko albums. And that's just a few of them.
Okay, okay. And what about you, Elijah? What name me a top five that you have worked on personally?
Well, I did work on Benny before Benny Holiday changed his name. He was Benny Hanna. I worked on the Angels of Atlantis album. I also worked on the Deadly Duos album through Bofaat, as well as one of G-Fan Black's albums. What else did we do? We did a lot. I think the Thrust OG album, the most recent one that I guess he
Yeah,
worked on, was pretty dope.
It's not yet out though, but yeah. You mastered that one too.
Yeah, and who else? Chief Recca has actually some dope shit that, I heard you work with him on that I got to touch as well. That was pretty fucking dope. That was amazing. And another, of course, unreleased, I know people are like, holy shit, there's a lot of stuff, but the Mo Ruckus album, I think right now is like my personal favorite at this point. Just at this point, you know what I'm saying? Because he be dropping so much heat, you hear one style and then you're like, holy shit, this shit is dope. All of a sudden, on a different album, totally different vibe. You know what I mean? You're just like, holy shit, this shit is dope. So, I ping pong all over the place when it comes to Bofaat, because he just got all types of vibes, and I just, soak him up and shit.
All right. So, all right. I know we met over. I met Bofaat because I've been supporting Bofaat for a while now. Everything Bofaat drop, I've been clicking on it and showing support. I think personally, Bofaat has a lot of dope stuff. I think he has that real authentic touch that I've always wanted to stick to. And of course, Elijah, you and I, we met personally just, well, kind of recently, when I found out that you're doing the amazing job of my mixing and production for me, which I really appreciate, and the mastering. What about my music stood out to y'all? First, again, Bofaat, what made you wanted to work with me when the first time we started connecting?
I seen a couple of your videos, and I like the way, because in my opinion, you've got your own kind of flow, your own kind of delivery, which I really like. I think it's super dope. And you know, that wasn't a time when I was like knee deep in projects, working. So I didn't have the time, because I always told you I'm gonna send you some beats, but I didn't want to do it like in between stuff, right? So you see how it worked out, right? I mean, we did a whole album in what, in 2 months or something like that?
No, it was less than that. It was basically about.
It was less than 2 months, right? So that's the way I like to work. You know, I like to work in a way. If I do something, I don't like to do one track and then don't hear anything for 7 months, then do the second track. You know, when I start rolling, you know, catch a vibe, then that's the time when we create something beautiful, like what we did, you know.
Definitely.
So, yeah, but why I wanted to work with you was just the way your flow, your voice, the way your cadence, everything. I liked it, you know, and I could already hear, oh yeah, I gotta come with that soulful stuff for my man, you know, like that.
I appreciate that, man. And Elijah, what made you, like, I know Elijah, we kind of like recently just started speaking, but you kind of reached out to me and you kind of expressed certain views on my music. And when you had the opportunity of actually hearing the music now I put together, what made you what moved you in my production and my work?
Well, it's a few things, you know. Of course, you know, one of the major reasons is, you know, Bofaat has, in this past year, put me on to, you know, a whole new slew of artists that, you know, I didn't know was out there. So, when it came to you, you know, it was my first exposure. The thing that stood out to me, honestly, is that, being a person that grew up on jazz and soul music, you know, from the 70s or even the jazz of the 60s and the 50s, I realized, first off, by hearing it, that you had like that whole 70s, you know, 70s vibe, which is something that I vibe to. You know, I'm a 70s baby, so that stood out. And then, you know, when it comes to the lyricism, it's very different. Like, for example, in the song DeLorean. DeLorean. DeLorean sticks out to me. You know, when I hear that beat hit and then I'm listening to, you know, the topic at hand and the way that you're going about it is as if like you went about it using your voice like an instrument, you know, instead of just speaking or, you know, just rapping. You're actually a whole part of the entire performance. And I feel that that's something that feels authentic. You know, you don't get that vibe from a lot of people. So when I'm hearing your stuff, I feel like it's like some new era kind of like Tribe or some shit, you know what I'm saying? Like it gave me really good positive vibes and the topics were real down to earth, and that's what stood out for me. So on the sound end, it's been pretty interesting as far as what that finished product is, and I think it sounds pretty dope, and I think you'll agree with me once you know, I send it out after this program.
I appreciate that, man. I mean, I won't lie though. Without y'all, man, I won't lie. Yo, on this project that we worked on, and the other one we started, I mean, it has brought out a lot of emotions and feelings that I had for years, and I was able to articulate those in this project, which I really much appreciate. If it wasn't for Bo too, man, Bo being patient with me and giving me the right sources of beats, bro, I won't lie though. You brought out some emotions in me, bro. Like I really appreciate that. So I know Elijah used to be a rapper. Well, he's not used to, but he still is technically, because I listen to some of his stuff. It's called like it's horror hip hop or whatever it is. I think it's fire. I think you're in your own lane when it comes to that. Bo, I know you used to do hip hop before too, as well. You were a rapper before, I guess, and you got into production or whatever it is. So I guess what I'm trying to ask both of y'all is that looking at what the business is now when it comes to hip hop, right? You know what I mean? Do you think what we do is timeless, or do you think it's an art that's going to dissipate over time? Because for me, me personally, I think what we do is timeless.
Yep.
You know what I mean? What's your opinion on that?
I agree. I think there's two sides to it, you know. So what we actually do, that music, that boom bap, you know, that's timeless, you know, because it's like soul music. Soul music is timeless too, you know. Maybe there's not anymore too much new soul music coming out now, you know. It's more like modern type, like R&B and stuff. But talking about hip hop is I think it's kind of when boom bap was on its peak in the 94,
Right.
95, that was its peak.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it can't get any higher than that. But
Right.
but what we do, we stay on trying to stay on that level.
Right.
And so we create timeless music, even in the later time. But the circumstances now compared to the 90s
Right.
are totally different, you know. So I mean, in some ways, because now we got all this stuff like this, you know, like Zoom, like internet, high-tech technology and all that. We didn't have that in the 90s. I couldn't be in Germany, make a beat and send it easily through the internet to someone, and he will rap and send me back the vocals. That was very hard to do then, you know, because the technique was totally different. And also how people buy music. For example, I just talk about myself. When I bought a record in the 90s, like a real album, vinyl, something that I can hold in my hand,
Right.
I would listen the F out of it. I mean, I would never stop listening to it. I would put it on any tape, and you know, then I have every month I have a different favorite song on that album. But now all that lasts for a couple of days. An album lasts for a couple of days at the most, you know. That's why now people just drop singles on Spotify and all those streaming service platforms. And so it's a totally different vibe now releasing music.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And what do you think, Elijah? What do you think?
I come from an era where physical items were all the rage, you know what I mean? Vinyl and you know, cassettes and CDs. In all honesty, I think that the big difference is that, you know, in those days, record labels had greater control of the market. They were able to distribute, produce, manufacture, ship out all their own records, recoup on their costs, you know, in those days. This was like before digital like took over. I was there, you know what I'm saying? And then that beautiful transition around the time like when Ruckus Records like had first started and Mos Def first started dropping his singles, and you know, then you heard like the company flow stuff and all that. Like that was when the game was changing a lot. You know, you had people taking more control of the art that they presented. You know, more underground acts started hitting the college airwaves, you know, doing their own shows. And once digital came into play, I think what digital did was, because things are so obtainable so easily, you know, so quick to be, you know, grabbed, like you don't have to wait. None of that shit. I think what it has done is it has created an era of people who have built in them a short range of attention span.
Yes.
And that's why, like now, you know, back in the days, you dropped a single, you waited, you dropped another single, you waited, then you thought, you know, okay, drop an album. And some people will wait 2-3 years before dropping an album. Nowadays, you got people like Fleet Lord doing 10 albums in like 11 months.
Yeah, he doing.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the moment that you don't get how would you say, you don't get more output, it's almost like people almost forget about you very easily because there's just so much content out there. And that's why everybody has to like work twice as hard now than it was back in those days.
Yeah.
Great. So my thing, I mean, I personally think that I agree with both of y'all when it comes to this, because I think we have reached that point right now. Everything is so saturated, not just by, I think the quality of music has dropped, but I also think the access has made it even worse.
Yes.
Now anyone could just throw something up there and get light and get lit and bring a new gimmick or a new stupid style and cheapen the whole product of hip hop. So I agree with you all 100%. So how is it in Germany for you, Bo, when it comes to like hip hop? In Germany, I've never really heard much German hip hop.
Yeah.
You know,
So
yeah.
Obviously, because most of German hip hop is in German language. Although I gotta say, in the beginning, when the first rap groups and MCs came out here, and that was in the late 80s or something, a lot of them were actually rapping in English.
Yeah.
So there were no chance to get abroad with it. You know what I mean? Like, because it's not the language here. So but later on, when German rap became popular, created a big scene here, you know. So that it was, and then we have a lot of U.S. soldiers here, you know, in some cities in Germany, and they're stationed here, and so they brought hip hop here too, you know. So and then we had a strong, or still have a strong breakdance scene too, and graffiti. So all the elements of hip hop are represented over here,
Right.
and really strong since the 80s. You know, I went to hip hop jams and parties, all to my rapping days, you know, and that was a long time, like late 80s to all to the 90s.
Right.
But towards end the 90s, jams with the internet and all that, you know, hip hop jams died out, you know, like parties where you can go to, it's just have like kind of died out. But still have a strong scene, but it's more going with the what's modern, like trap or whatever, you know, and the boom bap scene now is pretty small, but it used to be very strong. We had TV shows like similar like MTV Raps or whatever, German.
Right.
We had everything too here, you know, magazines that you could buy, and it was quite strong. Still is, but more the modern type stuff, you know. Like,
All right. So Elijah, I know, well, you living actually in the place where it was born and everything, cultivated and everything. I don't know what a close friend of mine's told me that they see boom bap now in New York as dad pop, like it's they see it as like an old school type of thing or whatever it is. Do you think it's going to make a comeback on a commercial level?
Like in my honest opinion, the short answer would be yes. And the reason why is that just look at clothing trends. You know what I'm saying? Every 10 to 15 years, it almost seems recycles, you know.
Right.
Everyone go get the old school Harachis. You know what I'm saying? People want to go back and get something that's vintage, but they make it now. There's only so many styles that one could employ, you know what I'm saying? But boom bap, I think, will always remain a core part of hip hop because that's like classic shit. And I think that people saying like it's dead, I think that all depends on the listener and where they come from and when they were born. Because, you know, if you look at the different eras, right, it's almost like every 10 years, it seems that people create new trends, like let's say just in urban music, right? You know what I'm saying? And then everyone wants to do what the next man is doing because that's what's making money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it all depends on the listener. Me personally, I don't think boom bap will ever be dead, but that's only because I'm old school. And to me, like I have to hear the real core essence of the shit, you know, versus something that has been pop transmogrified, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like the pop shit is whatever, but it's not pure. You know, I like hearing the pure shit. So I don't think boom bap would be dead per se. I just think that people have a sheep mindset to some degree. And it's not really their fault, but it's just the way that things are advertised to us, not only in music, but also in television. You know, in movies, you know, you go to movies, right? You always got that opening trailer. You know, you see the soda all close, and then it's like the ice is popping. And the first thing you start thinking, you be like, damn, you know, I want to go to the concession stand. You know, there's a lot of subliminal marketing that guides people that don't really have the how would you say, the open awareness to be able to determine and think those things for themselves at the given moment that things like that are being employed on them, because they're pre-programmed just like the rest of us are. You know, you get used to a level of violence, or you get used to, you know, a certain way things are packaged, and it becomes normal to you because that's what was taught to you. And I think that that has a bit to do with it, but that's a whole other story.
All right. So check this out, right? So I have, at least for me, with doing my music and my production of my style of what I write and what I put out, if who you think that y'all have worked with so far, like me, if like Elijah with your production and you, Bo, with your beats, and you work with assortments of rappers, whatever it is, do you think that my style of music fits in with that boom bap era, and it's also a little bit abstract as well? Because I consider myself and my style of music very different from the usual. For me, I try as much as possible to play on people's moral strings, and the way I deliver stuff What do you think of that, of how I do? Do you think it's something that is needed today, or do you think it's something you think we lost in the mist?
It's in my opinion, absolutely fits on nowadays, or or in the hip hop world. Absolutely fits, because that's what hip hop is supposed to be, you know. That you're not you should be like your own, you know. You have your own style. You should be like an individual in the frame of hip hop, you know. And the beats are there, and then your delivery is there. So the absolutely fits into it. The thing is, it needs to be heard, you know what I mean? And that's the most difficult part nowadays in hip hop, is since no more labels really push boom bap hip hop, you know, unless it's like Griselda or whatever. But that's only a little, you know. That's just it's not much, and so nowadays most hip hop artists are independent, and we gotta push ourselves and have some kind of marketing going. And if you don't have that, you always just stay in that small world of your friends and friends maybe at most. So but to get heard, you know, we need proper marketing, and I believe when they hear your music, it's not even only hip hop heads. I think even some people that are just generally open to music would like it, you know. So because it's positive, you know, it's positive, the message.
I appreciate that, man. I'm just letting you know, we have like 1:25 left, so if we cut out, just send back in, okay? Just letting you all know. We have a minute. Yeah. So Elijah, so I guess this could go for both of y'all. I mean, as Bo really just said, you know, I mean, the way how the music is now with the whole distributors and stuff like that is really squeezing the hell out of the independent artists. It's much more expensive for us to push music now, especially if you don't have a budget, like a huge budget. So my thing is that I would like to really and truly hope that independent artists could come together, like how we have come together, and form our own ingenuity in pushing the music. I think one of the biggest things that we make a mistake with in this business, that we could be competitive, but we could also be kind. And I think we don't realize that. There are a lot of rappers act as if like, well, they go on these views and streams things, and these things don't matter. All these things are just numbers. That just means people see shit or play your shit, but doesn't mean they're buying. So there's a topic I want to talk to you all about. I want to hear your views about, where we had this artist, what's her name is? I think one of these commercial artists, she had like over 10 million followers everywhere on her socials, and she couldn't even sell two now. Right. So yeah, as I was saying, so what do y'all think of this whole aspect where there's this artist here, I think it's Shorty's her name, or Swati, whatever her name is, but she has like 10 million followers all over her socials, everything. And that wasn't even be able to parlay it into sales. What do you think caused that? What do you think is what do you think is the issue for those things to happen? Why you think artists are no more talented anymore? Do you think it's because of the machine that is running music now, where it's just streams and views and that's it? Or you think because everyone has access to everything so early, that it somehow makes the artists' work a lot more cheaper in a certain extent? What do you think, Bo?
Are you saying that this girl has got like 10 million?
Yeah, like she's huge.
Followers on her social media, but when it comes to the music, it's not doing well.
No, it's not doing well. Only 2,000 people bought her shit.
Oh, okay. So why she's got that many followers in the first place? For what?
Right.
For what? I mean, what has she, like some crazy videos or crazy output on her social media?
What do you think, Elijah?
Honestly, I mean, I think the easiest answer is to look at her social media. Chances are she probably has like more pictures than music, And I think it also has to be maybe there wasn't a budget put behind the music. Maybe there wasn't a good amount of
But
presence
I tell
other
people,
than the social media. You know what I'm saying? I come from a day where when people wanted to sell an album, you walked up to the back of their car and you would open up the back of the trunk and
yeah,
you'd see hundreds of CDs, shrink wrapped up, barcoded up.
mm,
I remember the days when Fat Beats on West 8th and Broadway in New York City was open. It closed a few years ago, unfortunately. But people like before he got signed, like Percy P used to be in front of that store. I used to see him all the time. And he would consistently just stand in front of that record store and be like, yo, I got some new music, hear me out. Boom. Put on headphones on someone, just a pure stranger in the street, be like, yo, you like this shit? Dope. Boom. I'm selling a CD for $10. Pass it over. Nowadays, I think the instant accessibility has kind of killed it a bit. And
cheap.
secondly, I think there's just too many fish in the sea because since the ability to be able to self-produce and self-release like your own stuff and the machine didn't have that grip on being able to control the output. You know what I'm saying? Now it's like versus like let's say every month back in the days in the 90s you would have like a solid maybe 8 9 releases come out a week, right? Just music wise. Nowadays you got 250 300 400 albums. So how do you stand out among a sea of people that are releasing similar content or similar artwork on their content, similar sounding music on their content out there to be able to stand out? And a lot of it is marketing. Marketing sometimes involves promoting yourself like in a way that it isn't even the end product, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
It's
but
just a catchy way people get caught on it, and that's what makes it stand out. But I think the promotion has suffered because of it, because people rely strictly on social media promotion. It's just that one avenue when you have the physical world to deal with as well.
but the thing is though, for what I've seen though, like I have of the homeboy of mine who's a rapper as well. He's from Boston, right? And I've seen him. We have had conversations about marketing and stuff like that. And one thing I've realized, not only him but other artists as well, you could have a budget to the hilt. You could have I know a dude right now who spends here in Canada $3,000 on his budget. And he's an indie artist. He goes all out. He does videos, he buys ads, he does everything. But when you sit down and think about it, when he looks back at what is purchased, it doesn't equate. It just doesn't. So me personally, I think what it is that I think there's so much music, there's so much garbage too, that the good stuff is not coming to the top, no matter how you market it or push it. I mean, unless you have like a monster of an engine behind you, ain't gonna go nowhere. And you have to make up your mind too, you as an artist or a producer, what you're willing to accept in expectations and what you're willing to not accept in expectations. I think a lot of artists, and especially here in Canada, bro, there's a lot of artists who have this superficial mindset of what an artist is. They think that they're gonna blow up, explode. They think that those numbers that say 5,000 views and 10,000 streams, they think those numbers somehow puts them on a trajectory. When the truth is, no, it doesn't. Because I know dudes who bought their shit out of this world. They will pay for actual promo, and then they'll go and pay these Indians and these other online people to bought their shit. It makes it look as if like it's 20,000 people, whatever. But the truth is, that's not what it's selling. That's what it's being seen. That's what it's being portrayed as. I've heard artists argue. You know who am I, bro? I got 10 million people following me. Da, 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 da. How much units have you sold? None.
Mhm.
So
That's the thing is a lot of people do this buying views, buying streams,
yeah,
but it's like burning money. It's not real. It's not organic. What we want is organic
yeah,
sales,
yeah.
sales or followers, people that really follow because they love the music.
Yeah.
And that's the point, how to get there, you know. It's a hard thing.
Well,
Like what you said, like just today I read something, some guy reposted a post from someone who posted all the albums, not even all, from 2022, all the boom bap albums, you know, boom bap, and there were more than 560 albums, and there were some missing in it. You know, imagine that, 560 albums, boom bap.
That's a lot.
Who will listen to all of that? You know, I mean, it's hard.
Yeah, it's impossible unless like you fucking got like 1,000 eyes and you have your hands on every social media site's new release schedule.
Possible.
You're not gonna fucking catch all that shit. So how the fuck do you stand out? And I think that there has to be something tied into the music that makes you stand out by being original, whether if it's like the verses and the topics you talk about or the sound you got. There has to be something that makes you sound like unlike anyone else, and that is the only way you can stand out. So you have to be exceptional. You know, you have to be exceptional at everything that you do.
And what I've realized too, something I'm starting to realize too, since I've been out here doing this, I've realized that you as an artist cannot feature with any and everyone. Like I've realized that like the amount of people reach out to me to features, and then when I go look at their work, I'd be like, nah, bro. I don't care if you got a bunch of views and streams, bro. Like, if your style of music doesn't harmonize with mine, what is the point of me doing music with you? What I'm trying to get on? Like, for instance, I won't call the person's name, but someone kind of connected me with someone. And just off of these interview vibes, we're loving the Rhythmic Solace selections or whatever. And you know, they asked me to take a look at a certain person, and I won't lie. When I took a look at the person, their music wasn't good, bro. Like, at least I don't think it was crazy enough for me to be like, okay, this has to get done. And I think now what artists are doing now, they're trying to buddy up with any and anyone to try to get a flicker in their visibility in the industry. And that could work to your detriment. You know what I mean? Because you could feature with a pile of dog shit, and before you know it, it's your dog shit too. So like, so yeah, so for me, it's I think you can have all the money in the world, but it comes back down to the raw material. And as you rightfully said, Elijah, if your music isn't that compelling, isn't that intriguing, isn't that gravitating, then you know what, bro, or it's not unique enough, then yeah, you just kind of paddling, you're just paddling it, and you hopefully majority times you'll sink. Like there are a lot of people I've seen on certain platforms here, certain distributors here. A lot of artists, Bo, that you have worked with and you, Elijah, have worked with, and I won't lie, bro, some of those guys' product are really very redundant. They sound the same on every single thing they come across.
To see that's something that I don't know why people seemingly fall into that same trap. You know, like in all honesty, I deal with a genre that falls into that same exact trap all the time. So like when you know, just from my own personal perspective, when I do like the type of music I do, which is limited in a sense, it's very niche, you know, mixing horror with hip hop, right?
Right.
I had to sit there and decide, especially not just song to song, but from album to album, you know, what am I gonna do that still is gonna be who I am, and of course, undoubtedly, is gonna connect to everything else earlier than my earlier works or whatever. But how am I gonna sound unique and fresh? And I think that a lot of people either get too comfortable doing the things that they've already been recognized for, and just either they refine it or they just stay the same, and then you see the stagnation occur or whatever. But I just think that people don't want to really think that deeply when they make music. You know what I'm saying? I think that aspect of the deep thinker in music is kind of like coming to a how would you say, it's becoming extinct, a little rare to see and hear music that when you hear it, right, you see one thing when you first get it, But then you absorb it. You're like, yo, this person was on some fucking outer space bullshit on this album. Like, what the fuck? How did he come up with this idea? Or how did he come up with this topic and talk about it? You know what I'm saying?
And what
And I think that, like, people don't try to look at things with a fresh pair of glasses sometimes.
right. And
You
Bo,
know?
what do you think of the you being a producer, a guy who does beats and stuff like that? I personally think beats have gotten, it's weird though. It's a weird paradigm in hip hop right now. I think I think boom bap beats and production has gotten better, way better than how it was in the early 90s and the early 2000s. Like the kind of beats you're hearing now is some real fucking out of the world shit. Like I won't lie though, I've heard some of your stuff, Bo, and I was like, what the hell? I've heard y'all are really, you and some other producers who I've been listening to and vibe. Even my boys back home in my country, they send me stuff and they're getting much better. What you think? Do you think it's getting better? Do you think production and the beat creativity is getting better in boom bap?
I mean, because one reason for it is obviously is that now the technology compared to the 90s for making beats, you actually don't need all of those machines anymore that you used to need, that you had to use back in the days. Now everything is more simpler to use to you know to make beats. I mean, like if you look at the some of the DJ Premier clips that he does now on a regular basis, when he explains how they made their beats back then with
floppy disk and all that stuff.
Have to copy this there and this and that, and now you just basically all you need is a computer and the software.
Yeah.
Although the sound from a machine is still different, it's maybe, but then if you have a good engineer like Elijah, or you know, you can then maybe you don't even hear this anymore, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's, for me, it's, I don't know if it's better or is it just a progression, because a lot of the old, if you listen to the old records from the 90s, like whatever DJ Premier produced, like Group Home or J. Rule the Damager, those beats until now really hard to match, you know, hard to so, but I think there's definitely a progression, you know. There's some kind of improvement, or I don't know if improvement is the right word. I would say progression.
Okay.
Like everything progresses, like just sports, cars, technology, you know.
Advancement. It's some form of advancement. I get it. I understand.
Yeah, as far as advancements, I think the accessibility with the DAWs these days, you know, when I'm speaking from a technical engineer side, like literally you could have like a low level of commitment with DAWs these days. Like for example, you got Reaper.fm. You go there, you can literally get a version of Reaper for $60 and get all the mixing and mastering plugins all built in. So, you know, these days you buy a DAW, you know, you go in with $300, you buy a DAW, and a lot of times instead of like you having machinery like what Bofaat said, now you have VSTs that emulate groove boxes. You got VSTs that emulate samplers, you know, showing waveforms. You could cut there. You could literally do the shit that MPCs do, but on a more visual, easier, simpler to grasp way. So now you got that that ability for people to have that accessibility. But of course, with anything that is promoted and marketed, when you have accessibility, you're gonna have a lot of people that either learn to master the craft, or you're gonna have people that, you know, back in the days we would consider them posers.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. All right, fellas. Well, I think we kind of like touched all the bases of everything we wanted to speak of. I would like to speak about, but y'all could shout out your socials if you want to, where you can find your music, find your work. Or, you know what I mean? Y'all could put out what you want to say, Bo, at the ending here. If you want to put out, you know, your socials and your music, or we can find your stuff.
So I can be found on Facebook and just Bofaat, just like Bofaat. Everywhere else, you just find me under Bofaat Beats. one word, or just type in Bofaat Beats, will find me automatically. And yeah, I got most of my music can be found on Bandcamp. It's also bofaatbeats.bandcamp.com, or on Spotify, just Bofaat Beats, and you'll find a lot of music.
What about you?
Yeah, you can find me on of course Instagram and on Facebook as the Hexx Project. My real name Elijah Rentas or whatever. If you know me personally, and I have my own website at www.jhex.com, which is jhexx.com. It's just basically the site for my commerce, and I'm also on Bandcamp as well.
Okay. All right, fellas. Well, thanks a lot for everything. And once again, I said, bro, I think it's a privilege to work with guys like you, man. I think I've been observing what Bo's been doing for a while now. And I think I would love to be a permanent piece of that movement, because I think it's only right that we keep the authenticity still when it comes to music. All right, fellas. So
Thanks for having me.
That's no problem. Thank you for giving me the time, and Elijah, thank you as well for giving me the time. It was only fair.
You're welcome.
So y'all take it easy and Godspeed.
Oh, by the way, I launched my company this year, Len-Dor. We do music videos and interviews. So any artist who wants to boost up their resume or want a dope ass music video, please contact us by the number below or via email as well. Peace.
Brooks.